Hello and welcome to the show. Today I'm not in an audio booth, so expect to hear some interruptions in the background. And today I figured I'd take a break from the thing about closing high value deals, and maybe instead we can talk about my proposal process. And that's because in the previous podcasts, I think I even mentioned it yesterday. I've been talking about how your proposal letter, your quotation, your whatever document it is that you submit should actually be the last stage of your sales process. It shouldn't be the first. It should be more of a formality, and you should try and get agreement in principle whenever you're talking to someone. Just use the conversations, get agreements in principles, before you reduce everything to writing and then you submit the document. And the reason why I've been pushing that approach, not just on you guys listening to the podcast, but also a client I was working with yesterday, is because I think in this part of the world, because of how we're brought up in Nigeria, you go to primary school, writing skills on point, learn how to write your essay on point, your handwriting is correct, all the margins line up, everything. So because of how we've been brought up in this part of the world, we expect that the proposal, the document, the PDF, the whatever is going to do the selling for us. And so we put a lot of time and effort into making sure that that thing is fire so that we close the deal. And I'm just trying to get some of you to switch your mind frame a little bit. It's not as if there's a problem with how that thing works, but with that process of making sure that the proposal is fire in itself, so that people just see the PDF and they're like, wow, we have to hire this person. So that approach also works, but I think you should take the responsibility of selling yourself, your product, and your service, and let the document itself be a supporting striker. It should not be the main thing. So today we're going to talk about my proposal process, and I'm going to give an example of how I work it into practice to show you how I leave the document itself to the very last thing, and I try to make it just a formality. I try to close the deal in me having conversation with the other person, with the other stakeholders. I try to make it a done deal so that by the time we get to the issue of proposal, I'm just sending this thing, just for the level of, okay, yes, so I'll send it. So when are we starting? That sort of thing. All right, now, before we continue, the Geek List, currently on Spotify, I'm listening to Scott Biram. Mr. Scott, forgive me if I'm not pronouncing your surname correctly. He is an American artist. He is more of a country, acoustic blues kind of singer. And for those of you who want to check him out, I have to warn you guys that this is strictly grown folk music. This is for big boys and big girls only. So if you're walking around and, your boxers are dragging on the floor and stuff like that, maybe this might not be the kind of stuff you listen to, except if you're one of the disciples of Post Malone, because Post Malone, he's truly a correct guy. Because I listened to some of his hip-hop stuff, and then I saw Post Malone on YouTube playing some blues licks and some real aggressive electric guitar, and I was impressed. I was like, okay, this young man is versatile. And so he has dropped an album now that is that has departed from the rap thing. I've heard gist that the album is mostly country, blues, rock, that kind of thing. And so I want to listen to it because I'm really, really impressed that, Post Malone and, all these boys now, that Lil Wayne thing, like dirty face, dirty hair, tattoo up and down, just cover your body in rubbish and stuff like that. And, with the drugs and drinking and everything. So I'm just impressed that there's some people that have range like that are real versatile. So if you're a disciple of Post Malone and you know Post Malone from the hip-hop days, you might not be happy with this new album. But bottom line, there's some good stuff out there that you guys should listen to. Good acoustic music, good blues music, good country music. There's good stuff out there. And it doesn't even have to be an Oyibo thing, because if you look at the West African continent, we also have the equivalent of these kinds of music. So we have our brothers and sisters in Sudan, Mali, Angola, all those areas, people who are members of the Tuareg tribes, They're putting out real good music. There's this group that I used to listen to when I was in Aberdeen, Tinari Wen. Well, I don't know how it's pronounced anyway, but it's Tinariwen. And basically, it's almost like Fulani people doing electric rock and jazz. I know it sounds strange, but you have to hear this thing to believe it, as in there's correct stuff that is going on the going on in West Africa. Real good things. But of course, you won't know that if all you do is listen to regular radio. So that's what's going down on my Spotify playlist. Scott Biram, acoustic country music for big boys and big girls only. If you're a small boy, if you were born in the year 2000 and something, maybe this might be a little too much for you. Then on Netflix, I finally finished House of Ga. It's really impressive. I did some research. The guy is a historical figure, and that is really it's cool. I'm impressed that now Nigerian cinema has moved to the point where we're exploring historical figures in our movies. So House of Ga, watch it. But if you have kids, there's small nudity involved. So if you have kids, just be mindful of that. And let's see what else. Some violence in case you don't like the kids seeing stuff that has violence in it. But overall, not a bad attempt. And I like movies that explore this whole thing of pride comes before a fall. Don't let your eye tear too much. Don't be too greedy. So watch it and you'll get the gist. So I'm really glad that we're exploring historical figures in Nigerian cinema now. So Bolanle Austin Peters, I carry bomb for you, as in I doff my hat. That's a nice one. So I guess I will look for more movies in that kind of area to watch. Then, if there are any of you who are in that whole Netflix Nollywood kind of space, please, can somebody do a movie about Afonja and the slave revolt? I think that was maybe about 1870-ish, if I remember my lessons from history back when I was in secondary school. Because this was one of the things that led to the decline of the Oyo Empire. If you're not familiar with all the stuff I've been saying so far, that's Lisabi. That's the movie that I spoke about maybe 2-3 days ago. And then House of Ga. It's all about the Oyo Empire. That's, basically Yoruba folk. So one of the things that led to the decline of the Oyo Empire was Afonja's slave revolt. And, through him, they were able to encroach into the empire. So the Muslim jihadists were able to come in and sack Ilorin. And that's part of the reason why, even though Ilorin is Yoruba country, you have some people in Ilorin who think that they're part of Arewa. But anyway, that's a conversation for another day. But my own opinion, if you're from Ilorin, stop deceiving yourself. You are not Arewa. Because when push comes to shove, and Arewa boys and girls decide to stand together, they'll look at you and they'll be like, who are you? What are you doing here? Can you go to your father's house, please? Sorry, excuse me. The cold is still there. So yeah, House of Ga, correct film. And I definitely recommend. But the violence, the nudity, bear that in mind if you're going to be watching it when the children are around. So now back to my proposal process and how it's going to work in practice. This whole thing of don't be too quick. Any small thing, you talk to somebody and then next thing you're flashing proposal, flashing quotation, flashing this, what's your email address, and then you send them a quotation. Be calming down. Don't let your quotation sell for you. Don't let your proposal sell for you. Don't let your PDF sell for you. You should learn how to sell by yourself. So I'm going to give an example of how I'm putting that in practice. Now, there's a prospect that I'm currently talking to. Oh, by the way, when we say prospect, we mean somebody that might be a potential customer. Also, when we say contact, it means any phone number or email address that you've gotten that if you talk to and it seems like they're interested, then that person now becomes a prospect. But for the purposes of this podcast, whenever you hear me talk about prospect or contact or potential customer or lead or whatever, I usually mean the same thing for the purposes of this show. But just remember that when you start flowing in much more refined or academic circles, they will try and correct you and say that no, they all have different meanings. That a contact is not a prospect is not a lead is not necessarily a potential customer. But for the purposes of the show, I use them all in the same way. So there's this potential prospect, potential customer that I'm talking to, and they are in the entrepreneurial development space. It's an international NGO, and they do work in the northeastern part of Nigeria. So basically, what they're doing is they're going all over the northeast because now that north central, northeast, north, you get the picture. Those parts of the country have been having significant issues with regards to farming, food security, insecurity, education, poverty, all those sorts of things. So there are some international organizations that come in and only work in that particular segment of the country, which is not to say that the rest of Nigeria is not having problems, though, because problems abound left, right, center. But anyway, that's just where they do the work. So the conversation that we're having is regarding a documentary work, because this year we've done. I've never really focused on documentary work. I've always focused more on live events. That's for the media arm of the business. So live events, corporate events, those sorts of things, live streaming. But the documentary gig came up. I figured, let me take a crack at it, because after all, I've always wanted to produce something, have some actual productions to my credit. So we've tackled 1 or 2 documentaries this year, and this one has come up. So I figured, well, let's just take a look at it. So this job is going to require lots of on-location shooting on location across Kano and multiple other locations. We're going to have to talk to people who are part of a business incubation program that was organized by the client. I don't want to say who the client is. Maybe if we get the deal, then, and I talk about it in the future, I'll now call the client organization by name. So the client has done some work in Kano and other parts of northern Nigeria, where people have gone through a business incubation program and have graduated and have grown their business. So the point of the documentary will be to show how incubation and entrepreneurial support services can grow good businesses in the north. So that's the whole point of the documentary. They make the documentary, you use it across your social media. I don't know, maybe put it on TV or something, but it helps people to, for people to see what your organization is doing. You can use that for fundraising, because you show your people who gave you money that, look, these are the projects that we organized in Nigeria in 2024. And it also helps to advance the gospel that in parts of the country where things are rough, we actually can improve things just by taking young people, young boys, young girls, and trying to show them this is how you take your business idea, this is how you bring it to market, this is how you sell, this is how you promote, this is how you build a business beyond you. And by doing that, we can use private enterprise to uplift the community and uplift Nigeria. So that's what the documentary is about, basically. Now, this is the cocoa of what I'm trying to say. Most other media professionals will have a phone call with this client, and they will ask questions about the location, and they will ask questions about the interviewees. They will ask, okay, where are we shooting? Kano. And they'll write it down. Then they will ask, how many people are we interviewing? 20. We'll write it down. What is the time frame that we're going to interview these people? 2 weeks. They'll write it down. And then the professional will say, the media professional, someone in my own position will now say, okay, no problem. I have all the information I need. Give me your email address. I'm going to send you a quote. And of course, the other person is going to say, okay, thank you very much. And then end the call. You will now take this information and then you will now make a quote. The quote will be something like this: interviewing people, blah, 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 2 weeks. There'll be transportation costs that will be there. You also put number of microphones that you use, number of cameras, number of assistant shooters, gaffers, lighting professionals, editing, this one where you write text at the bottom of the screen, subtitling, everything. You now draw up that whole thing, that document. And then, of course, you make it look fancy. You put your logo there, and you make it look real nice. And then you now send the email. You now send the email to them that your bill is 5.6 M. You now send it. So that is what the average person does. They're hoping that this fancy, glossy, nice, whatever proposal is going to do the selling. You send it. It's 5.6. Now, the problem I've been trying to let you guys know is that when you send a document like this without any kind of context, When the person receives it at the other end, the only thing the person is seeing is 5.6M. The person is not seeing all the value add that you think you're trying to sell in the middle of the document. You know, the part where you say you're going to use 6 gaffers and 20 microphones and 7 HD cameras and 2 subtitlers, and you will not only subtitle in English, you subtitle in Hausa. The person is not going to see all of that value add in quotes that you're trying to sell. Person will just go to the bottom and see 5.6, and then he'll put it in a pile. And of course, if he sees your own 5.6 and then there's another person in the pile and their own was 3.2, you can see how already you're beginning to lose the plot, because all this person is looking at is a number figure at the end of the document. And this is the reason why I say don't let this document sell for you. The document cannot sell. People will look at it and the only thing that they will see is the money, the zeros at the end. That is all. If there's any value add, any upselling, any value thing that you're trying to do, it has to be you that is doing it and not the document. And this is the reason why I say let the document be the last part. I'm not saying drop your money. You can still keep your bill to be 5.6 or 10.2M or 40M or whatever it is that you quote at the end of the day. But I'm just saying let the document be the last bit. So that is what other professionals do. And unfortunately, when you do it like that, and the other person receives the email, you call them and you say, Abdul Kadir, oh no, this is the fellow you spoke to last week. So, okay, yes, Mr. Jude, I remember. I've sent you the proposal. I wanted to know if you've had a look at it. So, yes, I've had a look at it. I will send it to MD and don't worry, we'll get back to you. And then that's how you enter ghost mail. And then you start following up. And then after 6 weeks, you're wondering, why are these people not responding to my phone call? I thought me and Abdul Kadir had a good conversation. And then you now become depressed and you say, Nigerians don't know what they want. Nigerians don't know quality. Blah, 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 blah. So, that is why that approach doesn't work. Now, my own approach is this. 2 or 3 days ago, in the podcast episode, I said that whenever we come into these things, let's not come in like groundnut seller. Let's come in pretending to be a doctor. A groundnut seller is the person who says, how many cups of groundnut do you want? And then you tell them 6 cups of groundnut. Then they'll reply back, okay, 6 cups of groundnut, that is currently 2,500 naira. And you say, what? 2,500? You guys price back and forth, but bottom line, you get your groundnut for 2,000. You get your 6 cups of groundnut, and then the person leaves. If you listen to the previous episode, you will get more about this whole thing of when I say that for high value deals, you actually should be a doctor, more like a doctor approach, and you should be taking a consultative approach. So come in here, don't be like a groundnut seller. What do you need? Okay, this is what you need. Oh yeah, take the quote. Buy or don't buy. Take a consultative approach. So come in and ask questions about the project. But don't just limit yourself to the usual questions people ask, which is, where are we shooting? How many people are we interviewing? How many weeks for the shoot? And then you now send the quote. Ask questions about the project. So, what's the project? Who is the target audience? What is this thing supposed to be for? Are you using this because you want to promote what the NGO is doing? Or are you hoping that you can achieve this, but then also use that in part of future fundraising efforts? What are the goals of the NGO? Okay, how does this align with other projects that you have going on in the Northeast? You start asking all these questions. You can see that before you even sent a quote, you already sound like a professional because you sound different. Other people just said, how many people are we interviewing? 20. Where are we going to? Kano. How long for the shoot? 2 weeks. Oh yeah, take my bill. The bill is 10.2M. And then you all sound the same. But you come in, you ask different questions, just like I've been asking these questions. I can assure you, I already sound different to the other people. Even if the fellow doesn't store my number the first time around. I mean, when I call, you'll be like, oh, okay, it's that interesting guy from Abuja that I spoke to. Already, I'm standing apart. Already, I'm sounding different. Because my first set of questions basically was, okay, this is the organization. What's this project about? What are you trying to achieve with this documentary? And how does this tie into the overall goal of the NGO? Especially now that we're wrapping up 2024. So what plans you guys have for 2025, and how does this documentary align with all these other things? You can see that I'm already sounding different. You can see I'm already sounding professional. You can see I'm already sounding like a correct guy. Other people will just ask a simple question. 20 people, Kano, 2 weeks. Send a quote. Another thing, as we're having these conversations with these folks and we're talking back and forth, don't you think, or can't you see that I'm getting an opportunity now to build rapport? I'm getting a chance to know, let's just say the guy is Jude. I'm getting a chance to know Oga Jude. Oga Jude is also getting a chance to know who I am. These are the reasons why, at the end of the day, if I call or if my name flashes like, oh, is that interesting guy from Abuja? These are the reasons why they'll pay attention to me more than the other people. So ask questions about the project. Also ask about the participants and the businesses. It's not just a matter of how many people are we going to interview. 20. Shooting time. 2 weeks. Ask questions. How many people are we going to shoot? 20. Okay, cool. So it was part of a business incubation program. Oh, yes. When was it held? So. Okay, what communities did you get them from? Of course, I'd ask a question like that because I've actually lived in Kano, in Rano local government, and also in Kano City. So, that's small rapport building there. Because, anyway, you never know. Rano local government is a big local government. So I wouldn't be surprised if one or two of the people came from my local government. Well, it's not really my local government, but since I lived there for a while, I call it my local government. So small rapport building. But the thing is, I'm asking questions about the participants. So which local governments? Okay, what sectors? What industries are the businesses in? Something. I'm already sounding like somebody who is interested in the project. And most importantly, when I ask all these questions, it will help me to come up with a treatment. I prefer to even submit a treatment first for the documentary before sending a quotation. A treatment is that document that says... how will I put it? Treatment is the part of the document that says that, okay, from the information we've gathered so far, this is the creative direction that we can go in from the documentary. So we can go in this direction, we can shoot like this, we can explore this thing, we can highlight this kind of theme. With me submitting a treatment first, can you see that I'm already sounding much more professional and standing apart now from the other person who just says, how many people? 20. How many days? 2 weeks. You now send a bill, 10.2. These are the things why sometimes some people, you submit the quote 10.2, you now find out at the end of the day that the person that won the contract, he submitted a bid for 40M. And you now say, that they deceived the person, that Nigerians, it was funny that they used on something. It is not funny. The person is better at the sales process than you. It is not jazz and it's not funny. So, you can see at this point now, these are the conversations that I'm having. And can you hear and can you see that I have not submitted a quote? I have not submitted proposal. I have not submitted any kind of presentation. I have not submitted nothing. Because I am selling myself. I am selling my expertise. And I am doing needs analysis, qualification, and discovery around this project. If you don't understand what any of those terms mean, because this is your first time listening to the show, no wahala. When you're done, go and check YouTube. I have a channel there. Just type my name, type any of those terms. I have over 950 free resources there up on YouTube. So any of the resources that I've made around these topics, the thing will just show up. Listen to it with a pen and paper, so that you can write down things that you want to go and execute on, and you get caught up to speed. So let's say, like now I said, qualification. You don't know what qualification means in the sales context. As soon as you're done listening to this, go to YouTube, type in Tavishima, that's my name, and then type in discovery, hit enter. Every single podcast episode that I've made over the last 950 episodes where I spoke about discovery, it will be there. So you learn what discovery is, how you can apply it to your particular business. So let's go back to the kind of conversations and the kind of questions that I'm asking. Then, okay, well, let me just rush it up because it's 24 minutes. Now, the whole point why I'm trying to get all this information is because I'm trying to get the people to commit to a treatment. Let me get all this information. Let me send you a treatment. After I send the treatment, we can now discuss outlines. We can now discuss project deadlines, and we can now discuss money. Because before I even ask all these questions, how do I even know what quote to submit? And this is how some of you run into trouble. You quickly send the quote, 10.2, you send it, and then it is approved, and then you collect the money. But then when you hit the field, you realize that, these 2 weeks that I budgeted is not going to cut it. We actually are going to spend 3.5 weeks in the field. And of course, if you gave a quote based on 2 weeks in the field, 10.2, the money sounds big, but you're paying a crew of 7 boys that are showing up every day. You've rented camera, you've done this, you're paying for food and all that. By the time you run from 2 weeks to now 3.5 weeks, of course, your profit margin is now cutting and cutting and cutting. You now be angry. You say that the client is stingy. The client is not stingy. You did not do your work properly before you submitted this bid. And this is how we run into problems. And this is why I keep telling you people that qualification and discovery, all this early talking, toasting stage is the most important part of this sales process. A whole lot of us, this is where we fumble the thing. So I'm getting them to commit to the treatment. The treatment is the document that is going to outline the whole thing. Now, okay, this is what we've discussed. This is where I think the project should go. This is the story format I think we should approach. I think we should do it like this. I think we should do it like that. These are the deadlines, and this is how I propose that we execute this project. Because, by the way, the client will say 2 weeks of shooting. What do they know? They are an NGO. They are not the professional. It is you who are the professional that will be able to tell them that, okay, bros, based on what we've discussed, this your 2 weeks, whatever is unrealistic. It's not going to work. So you don't just listen to the client and whatever. That's why I say let's not be groundnut seller. A groundnut seller is a person who shows up and says, oh, what do you want? Okay, I give it to you. This is the price. Be a doctor. Go in, ask questions, and then flex your professional muscle. Based on what we've discussed, I think this and this and this is how we're going to go. This is your plan. It can't work, or to make it work, we need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do that. Then also, if you take this approach, like I said, you're going to have lots of opportunities to build rapport, because there's going to be plenty back and forth, plenty conversations. You're building credibility. You're sounding professional. The other people, to be honest, the other people might be more professional than you. But the thing is, all they did was they sent in a quote immediately. That document is not going to show how professional you are. It is when people talk back and forth that you now know that, okay, this guy knows what's up. This is a professional. By the way, can you see all the reason why I also say this whole thing of SMS back and forth, WhatsApp back and forth? No, it's hard to pass across your expertise by pinging back and forth. But if you pick up the phone and this thing is a conversation, 20-minute conversation, after you drop the phone, they can say, this girl, she knows her stuff. Yes, she's more expensive, but clearly this girl knows her stuff. She's better than everybody else. So, that's it. If I submit anything written first in this case, it's the treatment, because the treatment is a valuable document itself. It's value add. It gives me a sense to distinguish myself from the competition. After I send the treatment, I get on another phone call. And the goal of the phone call is this. Okay, you've had a look at the treatment. You discussed with members of the board. What do they think? Where are we leaning? What direction are we looking at? Okay, so if I have captured your vision adequately, to achieve this, we could be looking at a production budget of anything that is between XYZ and 123. Remember, I'm always in the habit of giving a range because I'm trying to feel them out. I'm trying to know where they are. So I will not just say budget is 5.2 or is 10.6. I will come and say, based on what we've discussed so far, this thing can fall anything between 10M and 7M. Is that doable? And then I'll keep quiet. Or how does that sound to you? And I'll keep quiet. Or how does that compare to other bids that you have? And I'll keep quiet. Because let's face it, this is Nigeria. I'm not the only person he's talking to. He's definitely talking to 2 or 3 other guys. So it's a fair question to ask. How does this compare to other bids? And then I'll keep quiet. In fact, there's one guy, a woman actually. This one was for Lagos. And it was for this Swedish NGO. I think it's Swedish, IDEA, for something that they were doing in Lagos around legal, legal aid, where lawyers come and give people advice for free. So I called up and I said, look, madam, based on what we've discussed, this is what this project is looking at. It's looking like between this and this. Is there even a point of submitting a bid at this point? I asked her straight up. And she said, no, that we cannot pass more than so and so. So can you see now? You take this sort of approach, you don't even end up submitting a bid and then start following up with people endlessly and wondering when are they getting back to you? Why are they ghosting you? The reason why the woman is ghosting you is because she wants to be polite. You submitted a bill and the bill was twice of what they budgeted for. She doesn't want to be rude, so that's why she's not answering your phone call. But if you ask these questions up front, you even know before you submit the bid. You know where they are. Like, since in our case asked, is there even the point of submitting the bid? She said, no, that people are beyond everything. And then I now asked again, okay, if we can make it work with what it is that you have suggested, even though it's not going to be my crew because of travel and everything, a crew that is local to Lagos, would you guys be willing to pull the trigger at that point? And she said, yes, but please, time is going. If we're going to do that, we have to be able to know that by Thursday morning. Now, can you see that we're having constructive conversation? Because I'm using a budget, a range of budgets to qualify. I have said, based on what we have discussed so far and what we've outlined in the treatment, it would need a production budget of between this and a shooting time of that. How does that sound? And then I keep quiet. All these kinds of conversations let me know whether this is an opportunity that is even worth pursuing. Should I even submit this invoice? By the time I submit the invoice or the price quote or whatever, should I even waste my time following up with them? Most importantly, and this is what I'm trying to get you guys to understand, I am not relying on the document. I am not relying on the proposal. I'm not relying on the PDF. I'm not relying on the whatever it is that I produce to do the selling for me. I am the one who is selling myself, selling my expertise on this project. And that is why I say you guys should be calming down. It's not just information, send price quotes. Slow down. There's an art to this whole sales thing. Also, one more thing. By the time you're having these kinds of conversations, you kind of have a sense whether the project is your own or it belongs to somebody else by the time you submit the quote. So, that is how I run my process. That is how I do qualification and discovery. That is how I use ranges to further qualify people. I get people to opt in. I get a sense of, where they are before I even submit the quote. And that is how I know whether if I submit this quote and I continue to chase this thing, whether it might click or whether it might not click. So, okay, let me just wrap up. 30 minutes. If I get the contract, that is good. Glory be to God. I'll flex and I'll pay some bills. If I lose the contract, no wahala. Glory be to God. It doesn't matter. Another job will always come. God will always sort you out. Don't worry. Don't be too scared. But if I lose the contract, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call the guy and we'll run the debrief. Say, Oga Jude, now. I just heard from Kemi in procurement. Like, how far now? I thought this one was a done deal. What happened? And of course, Oga Jude will laugh and we'll have the conversation about what part of my treatment was off. Was this thing a budget issue? Or is it that creatively I missed this or I missed that? We will have the conversation. We will keep it casual. It might just seem like gist, but me, I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to debrief. I'm trying to figure out this contract that I thought was a good deal that I didn't get. Why did I lose it? The reason why I need to know is so that for future people in this space who call me, I will now take this learning that I got from here. I'll take dressing and I'll use that to improve my sales processes in the future. So if you get the contract, glory be to God. If you lose the contract, glory be to God. Run a debrief and figure out what went wrong. Then, because I didn't get this job with Oga Jude, assuming I didn't get this job with Oga Jude's company now, I'm still going to ask about the future projects that they have going on and the goals of the company going on. Because if I know that I lost this one where are we now? We are in, is this September? October. We're in October 2024. So if I lost the one of October 2024, but I know that in March of 2025, another one is going to come up. I now know that by December 2024, I can pick up the phone and start hailing Oga Jude so that by January, February, I start toasting him about the one that is coming up in March. So you ask all these sorts of things because it gives you a sense about how you're going to run your relationship building, your follow-up sequence, or whatever it is that you want to call it. Well, by the way, this is why a CRM is useful, customer relationship management tool. By the time I finish this conversation, I'll go back to my CRM and I'll put it there. Oga Jude, conversation had so date, 8th October 2024, failed bid. Reasons why: treatment was off on so and so, budget exceeded by blah 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 blah. Future project in Anambra for March of 2025, and then I'll now use the calendar function and I'll now schedule there. I'll now schedule December 26th. No, maybe, okay, more like December 27th, and I'll just leave it there. So December 27th, I'll call Oga Jude up, and guess what the agenda will be? Oga Jude, what's up now? How you did? How did that project go? Sure, the thing was good. All right, no wahala. So how far with this Christmas now? How's the family? Blah, blah, blah. We're looking forward to a new year, abi? So how the new year go be? Okay, blah, blah, blah. God will bless us. God will bless our families. God will bless our businesses. Oh, you're a correct guy. Jude, we'll be talking next year now. Or greet your wife for me later. End the phone call. You see? Touch up, relationship building, blah, blah, blah. When I'm done with that conversation, I will now go back to the calendar function in the CRM, and I'll now move. Okay, so of December. Okay, this is December 27th. The next date I'll now schedule will be something like maybe. Okay, based on discussion. Okay, let's say the last time the discussion that we had took 6 weeks, and this documentary is going to be shot in March. I'll now take March 1st and I'll do 6 weeks back. So that will take us to February something. So for padding, maybe I'll do another 4 weeks back. So basically, maybe the next scheduling now would now be January, I don't know, January 6th or January 7th. And when I call January 6th or January 7th, it will be the same thing. Happy New Year. We've seen a new year. Nothing will happen to us this year. Our business will succeed. We'll all be fine. The children will do well. Blah, blah, blah. Oga Jude, that thing we were discussing last year about that Anambra project in March. So how far now? Like, when are we rolling on that? Or when are you guys taking bids on that? And then I've started the conversation. So this is also another reason why CRMs are important. You don't have a CRM and you're not mapping out your deals like that using a CRM tool or using the scheduling functions on your phone. This is how you lose track of deals. So when folks like me say use a CRM, or this is how to use your phone as a CRM, it's not just academic. It's the difference between your company growing or dying. And this is how people's businesses die, small, because you're not scheduling anything. You finish the conversation with Oga Jude and you think, okay, there's something coming up in March. I will call him next year. And then you forget. Christmas will finish, New Year will finish, and you're just chilling with your wife or your boyfriend. And in your mind, the thing is just nagging like, I know I'm supposed to be calling somebody about something. I just can't remember who that person is, and I can't remember who that project is. But for me, I don't have to bother myself, because whether I get the deal or I lose the deal, I plot all these things in my CRM. I'm just minding my business, and then maybe I might even be driving. My phone will do pinging. By the time I get to the location, I check, I open my phone, and I see the ping there. December 27th, call Oga Jude. And then the deal is back on track. Anyway, this is 40 minutes, so let me just bring it to a close. Summary of what I've been trying to say basically is, don't let the document sell for you. Don't let the PDF sell for you. Don't let your whatever it is sell for you. But yes, create all these nice, fancy proposals. In fact, if you can take it, spiral bind it, make it glossy, emboss it, put your letterhead. Yeah, do all of that. But don't let the document sell for you. Sell the whole thing by yourself. Don't rush to give a quote. Ask some questions about the client, about the project, about their goals. With the extra information that you have, use that to come up with a tailored outline of what it is that you're trying to achieve. Without outline, confirm from them that your plans and their own plans are in sync. If they're in sync, then give them a range. It could cost anything between this and this. How far? Is it worth continuing the conversation at this point? If they say, this your other price is kind of pricey, but anyway, submit. You now know that if you submit, that there is hope. And if the person says, no, 5M, how? Other people have been telling me 2.5. You already know that this project is not something you're going to have been able to win at all. So that's it. So that's it for today. As usual, connect with me on WhatsApp or on LinkedIn for insights, quick tips, questions, comments, queries, especially for those of you who disagree with what it is that I'm outlining here. I'd really love to hear from you guys. That would also inform future episodes about these sorts of topics. So my phone number is 080-6466-2140. The country code is +234. Then, yes, LinkedIn. My name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. Use the link where you're listening to this episode, whether you're listening to this on Spotify, on Apple, or on YouTube. You'll see my name there. Just highlight my name and copy, paste it in the search function in LinkedIn, and then you see my handsome face come up. Send me a connection request. I respond to everybody 24 hours, worst case scenario, 48 hours. But I do respond to everybody for now. By the time my container arrives and I'm a big boy like Dangote, you guys won't be hearing from me again. I guarantee. So, yeah, that's it. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.